Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to our conference, a little session about gender equality in wine and spirits careers. I'm Hugo. I'm a teacher here at the School of Wine and Spirits Business in Dijon and in Lyon. I recognize a lot of faces from the students. It's great. Today, so we're gonna have just a discussion with three of our panelists around the different topics around the gender equality in wine and spirits careers. I will first introduce them. So first and foremost is Alicia Gallais, who is here assistant professor in wine management here at the School of Wine and Spirits Business. She's a trained enologist, and she has a PhD in agroeconomics. So her research focuses on social responsibility and gender diversity in the wine industry, analyzing how social and environmental issues are reshaping practices and communication within the sector. So welcome, Alicia. Then we have Flore Lamouret, who is a content creator, also founder of agency Pulp E. She's ranked among the top 3 most followed wine influencers in France on producing content on both Instagram and TikTok. And he's on a mission to reconnect younger generation with the world of wine through impactful digital strategies. She will share her perspective on representation, communication, and influence in today's wine ecosystem, and she's coming from Paris to talk about everything today. Welcome, Flore. Finally, we have Virginie Taupenot, who is co-manager of Domaine Taupenot. She's a co-founder and former president of the association Femmes et Vins de Bourgogne. Virginie has played a key role in promoting the place of women within the Burgundy wine industry. Domaine Taupenot is representing 5 generations of winemakers. 9, sorry. I wrote 9 and I said 5, sorry, excuse me. And Virginie is overseeing 20 hectares of vineyards across 19 appellations in the Côte-de-Nuits and Côte-de-Nuits. Welcome, Virginie. So we'll talk first about different topics in turn with Alicia, Virginie, and Flore. So for about an hour, and then there's going to be open questions from the audience. So if you have any questions, we take care of it at the end for about 30 minutes. All right? So without further ado, I just have the first question, and you're free to take the lead on your answer. What is equality to you? What is your definition of equality? Alicia.
Okay.
Since you're the only teacher here, you can start with the definition and talk to us about definitions.
Okay. Yeah, for me, equality, there's several aspects to it, and it really depends on the context. So it's quite a complex question, actually. But equality is the fact that everyone gets the same opportunities at the end of the day, or gets the same results. And that is something that's quite important, because equality will be reached only through equity first, is what we now see. And equity is another way to see things. Equity is, okay, I will give you maybe more means if you are lacking any kind of background differently from the others. If you're on different footing at the beginning, you can get different means to reach the same level. And for me, equality does have to include equity, though it's not really the perspective of everyone. Okay, it doesn't have to be that way. But for me, it's what's important. So that can be applied to gender, but that can also be applied to any other kind of aspects.
Virginie, Flore, do you have any reaction or your personal opinion on equality?
It's just a question of, it's not really a question of gender, maybe more competence.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, so it's just in a common day or a daily the same treatment for the same person at the same level of post or direction or whatever.
Okay. And Flo, what about you? What is your intake?
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just to not discriminate someone for a characteristic. For me, we can debate about, for example, if I want someone very professional and you go to that in jogging, I could have some a priori, some cliché, but to not discriminate just because something we can't choose, like origin, gender, etc.
Great. So when we focus on the wine and spirits industry, what do you think that equality means in a setting of a wine cellar or at a trade fair or in a business meeting, for example? What do you have any examples or wishful thinking that you think might be a good practice in this kind of settings in the industry?
We talk more about my personal experience because I've been, I'm 54 years old, so I've been working at the estate for 30 years now. So I started at the time where Burgundy wines were not so popular, it was not so trendy. I went also in a business school in Paris and there was no wine club. It was completely different at this time. So I saw the evolution. I'm quite happy now to see all this evolution in terms of wine lovers for young people. So at this time there was not really equality. So I remember that when first we started to sell bottles, I was going with my father or after with my ex-husband, and he was not in the wine business, but each time people were talking to him, not to me. I was just like a salesperson, you know. So they're always all talking to the man, always, and after it changes a little bit. Still, because we created this association 25 years ago, Femmes Bourgogne. So I still have testimony now from a woman who have problems, and I think that we always think that it changed, but not really. In fact, when we talk a little bit together. So in fact, in terms of equality in the cellar, not really, I would say, because always men thinks we have not the strongness, but it's when you work in a cellar, it's a team. So you can have advantage, you can have, or not. So you can help yourself by someone else. So just always a teamwork. In the sales, I would say it's maybe an advantage now to be a woman when you have the competence, but you have to fight 2 or 3 times more at the beginning. And so there's not always equality.
Yes. Yeah, you're not judged according to the same standards.
No.
Good. Alicia, do you have any impact, input on this matter?
Yeah,
the best practices maybe that you might.
Best practices. It's difficult because I agree that it's at the end of the day in the cellar, for instance, you can still see in some places that we are not really treated the same way by some people, but maybe older generations also. And sometimes it's well-meaning behind it. So they will tell us, "Oh no, don't do that because you're not as strong as my nephew, so my nephew can do that instead." And I'm like, "No, I actually really want to do this, and I can." So I think best practices would be to really have like that mentorship in the cellars where we really teach people how to do things, but and allow them to try, even though they're a woman, a man, or anyone. Also zero tolerance policy for everything that's related to harassment. We were talking a bit about it just beforehand. Not allowing even like trying to shift the culture inside the cellar, which can be sometimes still with a lot of men, especially in the bigger places. And you can have like jokes and stuff that just contribute to stereotypes and that make someone feel maybe not as worthy of advancing in their careers. So maybe that, and fostering an inclusive environment would be the priority. And also in the trade, it can be a bit more difficult because the standards are not the same. What did I say for the trade? I thought of something. Maybe subsidized presence, for instance, at trade shows. I was thinking about Wine Paris when I was preparing for this, and I was like, okay, I see how the meetings are held and who they are held with, and who is talking to who, and really having more presence with smaller producers, younger producers, whether they're women or anyone, it would be a good thing. And masterclasses, inviting to talk about the future of the wine industry, inviting actually people that will work for the wine industry in the future, and maybe a diverse panel. So including women, including people that maybe are not of the same ethnicity as the others, because some panels could be a bit, you lack some perspective when you miss that aspect.
Okay. Flo, what's your take?
Yeah, absolutely. I think also it is a virtuous circle. More we will see women at these responsibilities, jobs, etc., and more older people often who thinks that who have this cliché about women would understand that it's not the case. But I know also for me it's an advantage to be a woman because this topic was just accepted. So it was accepting now, and I want to represent the wine of tomorrow. So I have a good representation of the new generation, etc. So it could be an advantage too. And I see this figure 59% of the women prefer to buy wine-made wine. Woman-made wine, sorry. So I think now because it is changing and people, it is because it's changing that people are involved into this fight, but it could be an advantage, in fact, to be a woman today, if we use it with a relevant way.
Great.
It's maybe a matter of a wave, you know. Right now, the people who are still in the positions of power in the industry may still be from a very different time, and next generation, for instance, is you, is like Virginie, and
everybody in the room.
And this is the next generation. They are not yet, you know.
Yes.
Not yet. In a few years, you will be leaders in the industry, but it's hopeful that the next wave will bring that kind of not even tolerance, but they won't even ask themselves so many questions, maybe.
Flor, you were talking about representation and being able to identify to the people that are working in the trade. Did you have a personal experience with someone you identified and that you looked up into, that or brought you into this industry, or someone that you take just good mentorship from?
Like an inspiration?
Yes, inspiration.
In fact, I think I'm inspiring by all women I am surrounded. So I think when I was in an internship, the winemaker was a woman, and she was completely free. She was very, very talented, and a lot of other vineyards asked her for she go to work with them, and she was like, no, I like my liberty here, and she was a little bit underground, and I like that. I'm talented, but I do what I want to do. I think I know also some woman who has vineyard with her brother, and she is the decision maker. So, in fact, I see inspirations in women. I already see this type of inspiration around me, so it's great.
And Virginie, did you have that kind of inspiration when you were getting into the business, or was it something that was completely free from models at the time, and you were kind of a pioneer?
In fact, I didn't want to go in the wine business when I was younger. I went to business school. I saw my parents working very hard. Didn't have time really to play with us or whatever. The door were always open to welcome customers at this time because there was a first generation to sell in bottles. Before that, we were selling in bulk. So I didn't want. And then after I went to Japan, and then I realized how lucky I was to be in the wine, and also to be a woman in France, because in Japan it was completely different, because the woman was not treated the same way than we were. And so when I came back from Japan, I decided to work, to come back and work with my parents. But it was not easy because I was not educated by my grandfather. Just to it explained a lot of things, but got divorced in the year 20s because he couldn't have children. Then he got married with my grandmother, and he got 4 daughters, which was a pity for him, no boy. So in fact, that's maybe because of that my mother started to work in the wine business, and that's maybe also. So I had an older brother, 6 years older. So my father didn't want any more children. So after 6 years of my mother fighting, so I arrived, and then maybe that's why I decided to create this association Femmes et Vins de Bourgogne, because I think I've been educated by being illegitimate, and I think we are all legitimate when we love to do and where we can do what we want. So I decided to create this association. We were 6 at the beginning. Now we are 42, from women from Chablis to Mâcon, and it's not, when we created this association, it was a movement, feminist, which creating, it's not, we were just wanted to be together, to exchange about our difficulty in the work, in the technique, in the commercial, everything, but not to fight against men. So when we created this association, it was just to help ourselves, and because we found there was a lack of women, and at this time we were not so many. And now we are quite well recognized, and even, which is a good testimony, some men who came to see me, and because they had only daughter, and now I know that my daughter can come back to my estate. So in fact, inspiration was made by all those women. In fact, whatever is in wine or whatever, it's just to be to feel legitimate.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
And Alicia, what is your take on the figure of the legitimacy that we can, like, women or other members of the trade can have, and how it shapes their careers in the future?
So it's a very interesting question, because there's actually the illegitimacy you were talking about is actually a feeling that is quite common in industries where there is an imbalance in gender or any other characteristic, and so usually what we see in the wine industry is that throughout the years, women started getting more and more like diplomas and trying to, build their legitimacy through that, because we didn't have they didn't have the representation in the business that there can be now. And having a role model is quite important, and having several role models, and they can be women, but they can be men, and that are just positive in their way of approaching it. And even for me, it was at the beginning when I was a young biology student. I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. I'm interested in wine. I'll just do an online search just to know what an enologist actually is, because I had no idea what it was. And I just typed, okay, enologist, Bordeaux, woman, just because I didn't know if it was even a thing. And I saw this interview from Sandrine Garbaille, who was the cellar master at Château d'Yquem for 25 years. And she left in 2022. And Sandrine, her interview, she was talking about the being a woman in the winemaking industry, and being a woman making wine at a level where it's usually only men Grand Cru Classé first growth actually, and it was very interesting to see that, and I was like, okay, I want to be like her, and I told her that actually a couple years after this, when I was an enology student, I was like, okay, I would like to work for you because I really want to be you when I grow up. And she was like, okay, okay, let's do this. And so that's how I got my internship there. Having these role models, and she's still one of my role models, but then you can have like others. Throughout the years, I think it's just like you, it's the women. It started being the women that were older than me and that I could look up to, and now it's the women also that I'm surrounded by, and that's why the networks like Femmes Bourgogne are so important, because again, as you said, it's not really a matter of excluding anyone from these networks, but it's just a matter of, okay, we share knowledge together, we share I know we have one in Bordeaux where sometimes it's also like research, and they invite people from research, and they can have more perspective on that and just have that kind of support. That for some we will have like, when we're younger, we will have less negative experiences maybe than the ones before us. But those that do have negative experiences, they can also share that and find empathy, I think.
Great. Thank you very much for your inputs. So we know that in the wine and spirits business, there are two ways to tackle with the relationships, which is mostly consumer-based relationships and consumer-based relationship, but also the trade relationships. So when you're facing one or the other, do you approach them differently? Like for example, Virginie, when you're facing a consumer, so a direct customer that is buying your wines to consume themselves, or for example, when you're facing a trade buyer, for example, when you talk to an importer in Japan, for example, or other countries, do you present yourself differently to them? Do you behave differently? And if so, why?
Yeah, of course, because when you are an importer coming from Japan, US, wherever, you already have bases about wines, and you come here just to taste every year vintage. So to see what will be the vintage, to come back to be the mentor and the ambassador in your country about Domaine Taupenot estate, about the vintage. So it will be different. It's more technical terms. But when you welcome women or men, it depends. You first have to know their knowledge of wines. And I remember at the beginning when I started, we were in a wine trade fair. At this time there were more, and now I don't do any more for private consumer. But I did many, and at this time I remember 30 years ago, men and women, they're coming a couple. The man was wanted to taste wine. The woman was shy, and then she always said, "Okay, if you buy wine, then you will buy me a dress or a jewels." And that were always like that. Then I saw slowly that after men and women were coming, women were tasting, and when those couples were arriving, I always pay attention to the woman. I think maybe more than the man. So sometimes the man was not happy, but I think it was the best way to treat them, and also because I was a woman, to get sympathy with them, and also because I wanted to educate women. And I think when a woman is educated by a woman, so they have more, they are less shy, because when you are in front of women, and I think I've been in this situation. Because sometimes I pretend just to be, a consumer, and then you go in front of a man, and you can see the attitude sometimes, which is completely changing. And after 2 or 3 words, then you say, okay, so she maybe knows. So I change, but the first impression is always, she probably knows less than a man. It's changing. Now we can see also with sommelier that now a woman starts a taste first before men. And it's also just a question of education. So there are men here. So the ways you have been educated by your father, your mother, and the way you will behave yourself with your sister, with your friend, girlfriend, it's very important that you think about it. So.
Okay. What about you, Flor? So it's not really about consumers and buyers, but mostly. So I think around, if you think more about the people you work with in your agency business, so all the people that are hiring your services, and the people that are following you on your different platforms, and the interactions that you might have. What do you have any differences there, and how are they different?
Absolutely. For my followers, and I met them because I did events too. I don't act differently, honestly, if it is women or men. It is just young people interested by wine. So it is the same, but for wine professional, it is a little bit different. But I don't think a good seller adapts his speech to the people in front of him. It is but I never played the ignorant. I can play the gentle woman a little bit, but more with young people. So sometimes, especially for the influence, so collaboration with brands, etc., on my Instagram account. I often face to internship alternant, so young people with not a big experience who could be a little bit shy, and so it is at this moment I will play. I will be less technical and more friendly. But when I face effectively the dominant male, I have a grand estate, etc. With when I feel this ego, I tend to be more technical, more professional, more polite, more with pressure, etc. So it is important. But I have also women like that who have a big estate, who have a director, and who is confident, and I have to have this same posture, in fact. So not according to the gender, but more the experience of the person and what she or he waits from me.
Great, thank you. Alicia, you did a study, I believe, on the effect of gender appropriation of certification for products. If that's correct, correct me if I'm wrong.
You mean the one on the impact of the gender of the producer
yes.
on consumers?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So can you tell us more about this study, and do you think that also there is a gap between the perception of consumers and the in the general trade around the gender influence on the product?
So for the first part with consumers, so the studies that I did were based in France, so it's French consumers. But now, 2 weeks ago, some colleagues from the US actually did a study on US consumers. So we have a lot of perspectives on this. For us, the reaction from consumers was that they didn't see any difference in the level of quality. However, they were expecting differences more in the description of the wines and the sensory aspects of the wine, even when they tasted them, which I tricked them a bit. I served them the same wine, telling them one was made by a man and one was made by a woman. I introduced the man, the woman, and still people preferred one or the other, were like, okay, this one is more feminine because it was made by a woman, so it's lighter, or I preferred the red from the guy and I preferred the white from the woman, etc. So it was not really a matter of, they were not really willing to pay any differently for one or the other, but what we found in our study was that it was more like the projection of their perception of the professionalism or the competence of the person was different for one gender or the other, and the perception of the warmth of the person. So usually what happens is that stereotypically we don't control this, okay? Our response is that we see a woman as warmer and we see a man as more competent. We really don't do this on purpose. And so when the person was perceiving the winemaker as completing the stereotype, which means like, okay, this woman, she seems warm, but also she seems competent. They were willing to pay more, like significantly more for her wine. And for the man, they were like, okay, he must be competent, but I really think he's warm. These people were willing to pay more for the wine of the man. So what's interesting is that both like sides can find a way to speak to consumers that will actually like go. It's just a matter of, okay, I have this that's already acquired thanks to my gender, basically, and I just have to complete this, and that way I get the complete picture. So that's also, but it's also quite natural, and I think we found this with your discourse. It was, we tend, as women, to emphasize our competence a bit more, because we want to be a bit more legitimate, or perceived as more legitimate. And it does happen that we have to speak differently, or people will speak differently to us. And then in the US, there was a slight preference from women for wine made by women, but it was a hypothetical study. So the one that I just talked to you about was an experiment, a lab experiment. The one in the US was hypothetical, so they still have to check in the lab if there is anything there. But it is quite interesting. I don't know if like people will start. Just the matter is, okay, it doesn't matter what name you put on the bottle. If you put your name, if you put the name of, if you'd rather keep the name of your father, but still, the thing is, there's no downside to putting your own name when you're a woman, which was really at the beginning of my PhD. I was like, okay, is there a downside to putting my name, or putting a woman putting her name on the label? And it was the objective, because some of them can be quite scared to do it, and there's no backlash for an individual name. However, we tested a logo. It was completely made up, but it was a logo as if it was an association of women putting the logo on the bottle, and this time there was backlash. Lara was actually the reviewer for that paper, but we didn't know each other at the time. But there was a backlash effect of the logo of a collective signature of women, because it was perceived as activism, especially from male consumers. They really didn't like this. So yeah, it's the response can be quite interesting, but it's still under research. And then for tradespeople, it will come in the future. I don't have any answers yet, but it's one of the topics that we will study with Magali in a project that we have over the next 4 years. So come back.
Or follow Alicia on Google Scholar.
Yeah, or on LinkedIn. I put everything on LinkedIn, so it's fine.
Yeah, great. Thank you for your input. Very, very interesting. Yeah, it's great to have. That's why we have these panelists today. Is just to have different from the production side, from the communication side, but also from the research side. So you have food for thought and potential for your questions later. I would ask. Now more generally about the trade and the people that are taking decisions, so the decision makers in the trade. Do you think that they understood fully the potential for gender-based marketing, so segmentations, to actually cater to these demographics in the consumer base, meaning that we know now that some markets, for example, I know a little bit about the Chinese market, for example. One of the segments that is growing as consumers is millennials, women that are in the middle class. And are consuming a lot of, for example, white wines and sparkling wines. These are the categories that are growing thanks to this demographic in China, which is overall collapsing in general. Do you think that the trade has understood fully that there is market to reach there? or are they still in their old ways, meaning that they still want to sell their wines to the same type of people that have been consuming or think that they've been consuming so far and don't want to change their ways? Fleur, for example.
I don't have really a lot of knowledge about international trade.
Yeah.
But in France, I think just one sector and marketing in general could be a little bit complicated. Like, I don't know a lot of estates who do market studies, for example. It is something I don't see very generally. So, are they conscious about that? When they do these studies, yes, because we remarked a lot of things about women, especially the willingness to be interested by new products. Like I know a producer of wine who infuse chocolate into the wine, which is very rare in the wine sector. And with market studies, he saw that women are a type of women, because targeting women in fact doesn't have any sense. We have a lot of different women. But you remark that young women, millennials, etc. Are willing to be more interested by this type of product, maybe more open to new products. So there are a lot of opportunities about it. I'm not sure that they are not conscious about these opportunities, but I think it's even a topic on marketing and do market studies and to be very interested about all the markets and to target it. Because today we say, we have to target young people less drink wine. But in fact, we have a lot of category of young people and opportunities everywhere.
Okay. Alicia, do you think that, so do you agree with Fleur in saying that there is a gap in knowledge from the producers in terms of marketing for this?
I mean, yes.
Okay.
I don't think many... I don't even know if it's that possible for many producers to know who their final customer is, because there are so many like levels before it reaches the final consumer. So if they don't do market studies, like specific market studies, it's very difficult. Should they lean into like gendered marketing? I'm not sure. It depends really on who their target is, because if it's just what we've seen, some stereotypical marketing of Rosé Princesse, I don't know. I have nothing against Rosé Princesse, but it's Bordeaux people. So yeah. Rosé Princesse, for instance, is like something that even as a young woman, I was not really attracted by Rosé Princess. And like there's an actual princess on the label. If that is what it's like to target women, I'm not sure that's what we should lean into. But I mean, to each their own. If it works, it works. But at the same time, we have to remember that most wine purchases are made by women. And I don't think that many people are aware of that in the industry. Sometimes maybe they forget that 65% of the purchases are made by women. So yeah, if they could do something, I think the most we can do is not really lean into cliches and stuff, but maybe increasing again virtuous cycle, a cycle of like increasing representation within the industry, showing that wine is not should not stay as elitist as it can be now, opening up to everyone and being able to show that everyone can work in this industry, and so this industry is for everyone and should be for everyone, is one of the main things that will probably help us get more customers and more diverse customers, and maybe less the targets that we have now in some markets.
Back to being a popular product. by the people for the people.
Exactly, and maybe in some markets internationally, maybe it's more the case. But yeah, it's difficult.
Depends on the market structure.
Depends on the market structure.
Virginie, you mentioned earlier that you started to focus on when you were facing consumers. You were started to target more about the needs of the women in the couple that was in front of you. Do you think that is something that most winemakers are doing, or is it something that is that you only are doing? And do you think that they should be more doing about this?
As I told, I saw the evolution in the last 30 years, but and we're quite lucky. Burgundy is a very traditional area. We're lucky because it's not a wine which is, how to say, trendy. It is trendy sometimes to drink Burgundy wines. You probably heard all about the French paradox, which was very helpful for the wine industry. Now it's controversial, but it's still, trust me, good to drink red Burgundy wines. And I'm lucky because we export about 70% of our wines in about 45-50 countries. So why I say I'm lucky? Because I have international view of our consumers. We are lucky also because they all come and visit us at the estate in our small village of 600 people. And so I always like the different cultures, the different way. Of course, in Korea they don't drink the same wine with the same food than in France or in Argentina or in Brazil. And all those different culture, of course, you adapt yourself to those culture. When you welcome a Japanese guy, it's not the same when you welcome an Italian guy. So, of course, you have to adapt. I always did that because I like the human, I like the psychology of person, so I was adapt myself to the different countries or behave myself to the different culture and origin. I'm not sure that everybody is doing that, and sometimes I had comments and testimony from importers who told me, I don't welcome anymore wine growers, especially men, because they kill my tasting. Because they don't adapt themselves. Sometimes they are too technical and they lose people, or sometimes you have to really adapt yourself to the people you are in front of you. If it's young woman, men, or of course the wine, personally, because I'm in Burgundy, won't adapt to you if you are a woman, a young. It's Burgundy. It's coming from our terroir, and we of course we will taste from us different wines than someone else, but it's Burgundy traditional way. We try sometimes to change the label. We say it's going to, but people didn't want. So in terms of creating, it's not always funny, but that's the way it is. Because of course I'm not in a negotiation where you have a different cuvée, and sometimes you have to find a new label, something. So it's completely different. I just explained my personal experience about it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing. So, Alicia, I have a question for you. Do you think an evolution in the way that society is viewing equality, gender equality, always translates into the wine and spirits trade? And do you think that there is just a translation into this that is at the same rate, and do you think that if it's happening, do you think it's beneficial might be beneficial to the trade? It's a big question, I know.
This question, it's complex. The thing is, it probably depends on because when we say society, like we all have here, we all come from very different backgrounds and very different countries. So maybe we don't all have the same rate of evolution of our societies. And is it? Yes, there's always going to be some adaptation from the trade. For instance, you can see that let's take the agricultural laws in France and the status of women who are married, for instance, to someone, to a wine grower or anyone growing anything. They didn't have like a real like status or social status, like even rights to retirement until the 90s and beginning even of the 2000s when they had full rights. 2006, I think it was. So you can see that with the evolution of women's rights in France, we had the evolution of the law behind that. It was slow, probably too slow. I don't know, Virginie, if you have cases around you where it was maybe a bit more difficult. But definitely at the beginning, they were, when you look at the history of wine and women, they were very excluded. I mean, right at the beginning, they were not excluded. And that's something that's important. They were actually allowed to make wine or to make alcohol, but as long as it was domestic and like for the house or for medical reasons, for instance. And then once it became like a production value, men took over basically and kept women outside of the winemaking parts and also wine trading parts and even wine serving for centuries and centuries. And now we've seen the evolution in the 20th century with women's rights. Okay, we got more women back into the cellars and into the wine trade. So there is a correlation, but is it as fast as it could be? Maybe not everywhere, yeah, it's a bit difficult to really like give a thorough answer.
Yeah, well, it's not. We don't ask for thoroughness. We just ask for insights and food for thought. What do you think about this, Virginie, for example? Do you think what Alicia is saying about the history of winemaking, obviously with your experience and your grandfather being sick of having four daughters, do you think that thanks to this example in your family, this made evolve your family and your path towards a better way of doing a business in the end? And do you think it can be replicated? It has been replicated in the future. You talked about some winemakers, male winemakers, that are hoping for better and they have better perspectives for their own daughters.
Yes.
So do you see any correlation
it's
with that?
evaluating, yes or no, because I think I am, I'm still lucky, sorry to say that, but I am born with a Virginie Taupenot, and that's the estate Domaine Taupenot man. But I can imagine when a woman is born not Taupenot, doesn't have an estate, and I've seen many testimony of women who came to see me, young girls, what discrimination where they were working, and they say you should be a nurse, you should not work in a cellar or whatever. And it's not, it was 4 years ago. But I think I still see that in Burgundy, which is very traditional, to find a job as a trainer at a training or alternance or whatever, I think it's still complicated because it's still traditional in the way. So it's changing by women, by our association, but it's still quite complicated. And I see that all those young women, they always go maybe to abroad, where it's more open-minded to hire women to do technical things or physically things, or even in Corsica sometimes I've seen many women who could work in some estate, but Burgundy still stay quite traditional. It changes, not everywhere, but it takes time. But it's too slow.
Yeah. Okay, too slow.
For sure.
Do you think it's so? Flo, we always say that social media is a reflection of society now. That everything happens on social media. Everybody is reacting on social media. Everything happens in social media. Do you think that what happens, for example, the reactions that you have on your account, but also with other specialized accounts around wine, is really reflective of, for example, what you saw when you were meeting your followers, or when you had other experiences with the people that were hiring your services, for example, to promote their wines?
Yeah, I see the difference. I'm maybe a little bit too young to talk about evolution, but I clearly see the difference between people with our age and older people. People of my generation, of our generation, are very, very more open about it. I never had problems with that. For older people, it could be different. Into the marketing sector, I think I'm very legitimate as a woman. I think I have the great representation of that. But it's true that for the competencies into the technical aspects of wine, like wine tasting, for example, I had over experiences, like you are in professional salon, so
trade fair, yeah.
Trade fair, professional, and I'm coming to a winemaker, and like I begin to describe the wine, and I think he thought that I was maybe the daughter of someone, I don't know, but it was like no. Don't try to describe it. No, we just, do you like it or not? And he considered me like the child of the trade fair. Like, and yes, I had this type of experiences to old men who want to flirt. Also, we have a case like that, and I don't have it with young men I can work with. So yes, we still see some behavior that don't respect equality. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great.
But our generation is a good espoir.
A lot of hope in the future. Yes,
Yeah.
That's great. So. For the last question, because we are nearing the end of the conference, I know it's coming fast when we have fun. I want to talk about the role of allies. So there's the ally. The figure of the ally is someone that is in the dominant position in a society, that is actually promoting and also giving a springboard to and being able to host the grievances of people that are in a dominated position in a society. How important do you think allies are in the wine and spirits industry, and how much more should they take as a role in the wine and spirits industry? Flo.
Everyone should be an ally. In fact, the ideal is that if every man is conscious about women are cool too. Like if every man don't do difference like that, everything is good. I think we need, but we have to be it. In fact.
Okay. Virginie, what do you think? Have you seen any allies?
Je ne comprends pas trop.
C'est le fait d'avoir un allié dans des personnes qui sont dans les positions de domination, donc c'est-à-dire principalement les hommes cisgenres, qui vont avoir en fait être présents et secourir ou alors mettre en valeur les personnes qui sont en position de dominer, c'est-à-dire que et d'aider justement à ce que ces personnes soient le plus confortables possible, valorisées aussi.
Et vous me demandez s'il y en a en fait.
S'il y en a assez, et s'il faut les promouvoir. Voilà.
Yes, I think I've been lucky also with a great meetings with some wonderful men who created in me, created in our association. Recently with Confrérie des Chevaliers d'État de Vin, which is a very male association created in 1934, and I've been joined this Confrérie in 20s in the member. So it was an honor for me. So it's changing, and those men, of course, they needed women in the confrérie, but also they wanted to give more importance to women and to and I've met wonderful sommelier, importers, and who I think believe in me, in our wines, in our estate, but believe in me also, and which is important. But you have sometimes to work 2 times, 3 times more.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, Alicia, what do you think is the importance of the ally figure in the overall in the wine and spirits industry? And do you think there is enough?
It's theoretically yes. The ally figure is very important because the only way for the industry to become more diverse and to have more people, like more representation, is for the people who are actually like currently dominant to give the floor to people that are from the minority. It's important when you're in a position of power to actually give, just like, for instance, Hugo, you're doing right now. You're not dominant with us, but I mean, what you're doing now.
I represent the domination. I'm not dominant with you, but I represent the domination.
You had the occasion to organize any kind of conference you could want, and the first thing you told me, we had barely met, we knew each other, it had been a week, and you were like, okay, I would like to do this for International Women's Rights Week. And you know, it's quite important, I think, to have that. But also, I think while you guys were talking, I was like, okay, I'm trying to think of an ally that I had while I was in the industry, and I've been in the industry for 10 years now. And I couldn't think of one person who actually, like, really, one man, who actually really, like, I don't know, helped me. Most of the time, they were more like barriers, but maybe it's because it was Bordeaux, and Bordeaux is just like Burgundy, so maybe I don't have the best representation, but they were not like mean or anything like that. It's just that when the bar is as low as just trying not to joke about the 19-year-old intern in the cellar, I mean, it's very difficult to find allies. So yeah, hopefully there are some. I just haven't met them. And now that I'm in academia, it's way better. Don't worry. But yeah, it's a bit difficult, and I think you guys, and I can see my students here or some alumni. And I'm very happy because I think you guys will be able to be allies, even if it's just considering the person as your equal, and just not trying to be patronizing with them. You know, just simple stuff, really.
Yes.
Not that
but
hard.
most importantly, also calling out discrimination.
And calling out discrimination when you see it, when you see a friend saying stuff about the 19-year-old intern, maybe tell them, hey, that's not really that cool anymore to joke about that, and it has never been. Yeah, it's just simple stuff like that, and I'm really hopeful because I can see that you guys are here, so yeah.
I always say to guys, you know, just think when you act with a woman or you talk with a woman, imagine if you were acting, someone is acting like that to your sister, to your daughter one day you will have, or to your mother, you would not like it. So I always say, think about it to act in a better way.
Yeah.
So.
Great. Well, now is the end of the panel discussion, but we open the floor to questions. So we don't have a mic or anything. So if you want to ask some questions, maybe raise your hand and I will point them out, and raise your voice so we can hear you, especially in the microphones that we have. Questions? Yes, Yolanda.
The question for you, Flor, I was wondering, how did you success in finding a place in this market? Because my opinion is there's less and less room in the market, in the marketing wine industry market, and you're quite famous. I didn't notice how. No, but you know the social media, we heard about it. So I was wondering, because I didn't notice how you launched this. I'm sorry if you see this.
No, it's okay. How I do that? I did entrepreneurship studies, And so for launching an Instagram account, etc., you have to add value to people. I saw a problem, like I'm a young person, and when I Google to do wine tasting or to interest into the wine sector, it's a long text with terroirs and it is poetry, and I'm not interested by that. So I said, okay, there is a market like that. I do market studies, etc. I said, okay, maybe I can bring this part of me. I really make the wine more accessible. So and I do more. I'm completely disconnected about the traditional wine we can see usually. So yes, it works like that. I know that now all the marketing jobs could be complicated, especially into the wine sector. And it is absolutely normal because we never learn about marketing. We have the habits of the commercial aspects of wine, but marketing is very new for the winemaker. And so I created this this job. In fact, it doesn't exist at Vivazes. And for the agency, I learned to winemaker that it is cool to invest into marketing, but I have this problem, this issue to resolve, to convince them to show them that in fact you have a big opportunity into this sector. And so yes, to open the world of marketing into the wine sector, it exists. I think we have this mission to learn to winemaker that it is an opportunity and we have to do that now.
Other questions? Yes?
I have a question for Virginie. You talked a little bit about the Femmes organization that you had started. I was just curious, like, what was your vision for it when you first started, and kind of how have you seen it change and how the women show up for each other as it's developed?
You know, when we created it, it's just because we felt alone, and because I work always in family. We have colleagues, but sometimes, you know, not with the same competence or the same. Sometimes your mother or not, or sister. So we wanted just to help ourselves, and then it became very. How would you say, trendy, and so a lot of people press come on us, and I saw the evolution by all we could help in those women, the hope it could have, because it's quite tough sometimes. And then after we meet just 4 times a year, which is enough, not too, but sometimes some have something in common, and so it's just the way you leave the dinner after or the reunion, and you're happy and you want to continue about your estate and your techniques of commercial, and so it helps each other. And with also women who came to come and see us, we could help them to find a job or a training or whatever. So that's, did I answer? Yeah.
Yes.
So my question is regarding when you talked about allies, and so a little bit about discrimination. So do you think that right now at the moment, because like people talk more and more about their experiences, bad experiences that they have, do you think that that might open some big changes, or not enough, or but like there's not enough people still talking about their bad experiences?
It's actually yes. I think a lot of progress has been made thanks to the fact that people have been talking. For instance, you know, we have some Instagram accounts like Domaine Taupenot, which is now an association too, where they just collect testimonies, anonymous testimonies about what's going on in the industry. And I think now it's becoming more visible, and the journalists have called it the Me Too of wine, and it's important that we have that, and we have seen that actually more and more people are talking about it. Now, talking about it is good, but it's true that in the behavior, and there are still testimonies coming to Pays ton pinard, so that means that we still have some work to do. But definitely, raising awareness will help in the longer run, and has probably helped some people just to find some support. And it's the role of these kinds of associations. So, yes.
And just because I'm not from your generation, I see the evolution in terms of social media, the way the time, me too, I see you're spending on your phone and everything. So sometimes you're not communicating very well. And I think that by this kind of association, or when you meet, or it's very important also just to think about it, and it's important to sometimes
put it out there.
Sorry?
Put it out there.
Yes, and to unify yourself again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true.
Study.
I mean, anyone can answer it, but I've been noticing more and more that they are including women in talks, conversations, panels. Just sometimes the flip side feels like it's almost like filling a diversity quota almost. So I'm always unsure on how to feel about that, because I'm happy that that opportunity exists. And it's very easy to jump on it, but at the same time, I don't know if that's the right attention. Do you guys have any opinion on it?
Do you guys want to?
Honestly, I don't understand the question.
So the quotas, the fact that there are supposedly some quotas in the representation, meaning that there quotas is like there needs to be at least one person of one
Est-ce que la
representation.
personne dans le panel, finalement, elle est pas là juste pour le quota, et puis voilà, et en fait, finalement, on l'écoute, c'est moins sincère. Is it sincere in the... Any panel, masterclasses, panel discussions, we have women, but sometimes maybe their voices are...
And I'm not the diversity here.
Yes.
In general,
do you think it's almost a facade at this point?
Pink washing of it. No, pink washing is for LGBT. So what is it for women? I don't know. Women washing?
No, in general, quotas are discussed, and effectively it could exist this type of things. I'm not sure we can do a lot of things about it. Maybe for me, a company, you cherche a competency, you cherche someone. Someone with this competency simply. If you want to hire a lot of women, but just for the quotas, and you absolutely don't regard the competencies, your companies would be just
would be failing quite soon.
Would be failing, in fact. So and it could be the same thing for like a concours, or like testing, wine testing
panels,
etc. If you take a woman just to have a woman, and in fact they haven't the competencies, your panel doesn't work. So yes, it is bad decisions, clearly.
But we have a rule in that it's not to accept everything just to be in the quota, in fact. So I remember one day on a Sunday morning, I got a phone call from an old winemaker, very famous in Burgundy, and say, Virginie, okay, I want you to be part of my list in the Chambre d'Agriculture. Okay, you know, but
the representative body for farmers.
Yeah, but you know, I have two small kids, I can't, and after half an hour I said, but I just want your name on the list because you are a woman, you know. So it was my rule to say, no, I can't, but I could have been very happy and then to be on the list. So it's the engagement you put in that which is important each time you do something. It's not the quota, it's the competence you have to do it, in fact.
Yeah, if I may intervene, it's not only the people that are criticizing the fact that there is the quotas and the fact that there might be a problem with the fact that we hired that person just because she's a woman or just because she's a man. I think they try to avoid the question, is he or she competent? They never ask about the competency. They ask about the gender. And I think that's what we need to move away from when we go to this debate and just ask about the competency. If I may summarize.
Yeah, but if
I'm
you
not mansplaining.
if you include women in a panel, for instance, and you see like there's or in a board of directors and you include a woman, it's true that it can be very easy to overlook their opinion, and sometimes they can just be here because you needed to fill the spot. It does happen, but at the same time, just their presence is a way that they can maybe try to they still have a place at the table, so they can try to improve their condition and the condition for the ones behind them. They can still try at least, which is a bit of a hopeful thinking.
Other questions? Nobody else? I had more hands raised before. No?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Yes, Natalie.
Did you foresee, as you went into your role as a woman, what was your estimation of how easy or difficult it would be, what aspect that would play in your role, and what you experienced in that match, what you expected?
So you're asking Virginie, you're asking Flore, you're asking Alicia?
Whoever.
All of them?
Quelles sont les attentes en fait? C'est ça. Entre le moment où on a décidé et l'attente qu'on a eue, est-ce que le résultat c'est ça?
Oui, quand tu es rentrée dans l'industrie, est-ce que en tant que femme en fait,
Oui.
est-ce que tu pensais que ce serait facile? À quel point tu pensais ou que ce serait difficile? Et voilà, quelles étaient tes attentes et quels sont les résultats derrière?
No, I didn't think it would be easy personally, and my father was not really helping me on that, and I have an older brother too, but so it was not easy, but the satisfaction you get when it's small, it's much more recognition that you could have. So I think it's after it's better when you know it's not easy, and after the satisfaction you get, ça vaut tout l'or du monde. It will value all the work gold anyway. So, but I have 2 kids, one boy and a girl. So I really try to do my best for my older boy and daughter to be equal and in the same treatment, and but it's not you have to do it, not at all.
Okay. So you don't have a favorite child?
I have a favorite boy and a favorite girl.
Flore, what was your question to you? Same question to you.
Personally,
you're still young, so.
No, I think I thought that it would be more complicated than what I live. It's true that, like, when you begin, I'm a woman, I'm young, so yes, absolutely, I see that I see the difficulty about that. But I think there is a big point about the confidence. I see at the beginning I was beginning. I didn't do studies into the wine sector, so I was a little bit shy. And now I have my company and the second one now. I'm more confident about what I can bring to this sector, and I think also it transmits confidence to the people I talk. And I think it is a print that make a very, very big difference, even if you are a woman.
Alicia, do you have a take on this, or just want to move on to the next question?
No, yeah, I can. It's true that the confidence is important. Confidence is not really always easy to have because some people will maybe think that you shouldn't have any. Especially in production, it's a bit like. it's a bit difficult. At the beginning, I didn't think it would be easy because I had a teacher, it was a professor at my university, and I wasn't yet in enology. And I was still in biology, and it was a microbiology of wine elective that I had. And she was like, okay, ladies in the room, who wants to be an enologist? And we were like raising our hands, and she was like, you shouldn't. I'm an enologist, but then I went into research because honestly, it's a man's world, and it's going to be very difficult for you. Hugo knows
I know
her.
that person.
He knows her, so he knows who I'm talking about.
It's a small world, actually.
It's a very small world, and so she was very, very dismissive, and she really encouraged us not to go into this. And because I think she had a very different experience from what I had, because she was an enologist. She became an enologist. What year, Hugo?
She became an enologist because she did her studies with my mother, so that's why. So she became an enologist when she was in 84.
84. So maybe her experience was really bad, probably. And so but then, 30 years later, she was still telling us not to go into this. And I know I have like half the girls in the room actually decided to go for a master's degree that didn't get them the enology degree because of that professor. So, I knew that it would not be easy. But at the same time, when you're you know how to adapt your behavior a bit. You learn how to adapt your behavior, and you learn not to take everything to heart also, and just that's how the industry works for now. Maybe it will be better. So I didn't let everything get to me, and it became easier probably. So yeah, just learning how it works. You can then complain about it with your friends, but accepting it and moving on is the way.
Great. Another question? Another question? Great. So if you don't have any more questions, I would like just to finish by thanking first our panel. Thank you very much for coming from Paris. Thank you, Virginie, for coming. Thank you, Alicia, for your great input. I want to thank the team also at the school. I want to thank Clara for being a marvelous director. And Magali as well for helping with the topics, and also Elsa for the promotion, and Eloise for the organization. And my colleagues as well for supporting me every day. And to finish, I would like just to quote Gandhi, who said, be the change you want to see in the world.
Thank you, Hugo, for the
Thank you very much.